I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. When I was a kid, man, we'd hang out at a place called Blackie's Barbershop. It was a group of guys that would all get together at the barbershop and they would talk conspiracy theory. And basically, I mean, everything in the news was a conspiracy. It's now been 53 years since the assassination of President Kennedy. Bigfoot sightings and UFO sightings and all these other things that, as a kid, that really weighs heavy on you. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. I have a background in news journalism, and I was offered a talk show. And they said, hey, what are you going to fill it with? And I said, well, I'll fill it with some of the lies my father told me. You're listening to Ground Zero. Rod McKenzie, my guest tonight on Ground Zero, and Richard Hook. That led to other things, and then, eventually, as I kept working my way through it, I realized, some of this stuff is true. Some of this stuff is real, and people don't know about it. And I have I feel like I should report this.
Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis. Can I get your first name, please?
I was a rock jock when I first started in the business.
Hey,
I was ramping Black Sabbath records, and I said, yeah, I love that. So that's why when you hear the show, it's a little bit of rock and roll, it's a little bit of talk, it's a little bit of, theater. When I grew up, I listened to old radio. I listened to Pink Floyd albums. I listened to sound effects and all those things that made things, really, exciting. Here we go. Hello. Lift the curtain of history. And a lot of it, it's speculation, it's fact, it's conspiracy theory, which I might add is theory. A lot of people say, well, you believe in conspiracy theories? I go, well, they're theories. And if there are facts surrounding the theories, then, I present those facts. The genesis of revelations on the Kennedy assassination. I mean, I dig deep to find stories that are interesting and unique. That's why, people listen to my program. And if you can take apart a story and put it back together again and have no flaws in it, you've got a story that's not a conspiracy theory, but fact. And that's the point. It's the idea of analyzing the conspiracy theory rather than saying that it's reality. And these enemies plotted in conspiracy against him and murdered him on this day 53 years ago. But I'm not here to change the world. I'm just here to open up parts of the world that people rarely see. A former rogue and contact agent for the government and mob.
I'm doing what I want to do now, and it's very liberating to say, I am the one who makes the decisions. I'm not told what to say, and I'm having a great time saying it.
We are going to defend!
It started in Pioneer Square. In a matter of minutes, the crowd went from a few hundred to a few thousand.
Don't give them attention, folks. Don't give them attention.
And then some pro-Trump supporters showed up and were met with this.
Over there! Come on!
As tensions started to rise, so too did the smoke and ashes from burnt American flags. One person tried to put out the flames to no avail in the already agitated crowd.
Let it burn! Let it burn! These are our people!
From there, the self-appointed leaders addressed the group for a few hours.
I see action and I see progress.
Until finally, they marched. And almost immediately confronted a driver trying to get through the crowd. From there, the protest carried on. Andrew Dimbert reporting for Coin 6 News.
My name's David, and I have been a part of Central City Concern for about 9 months. My life was dark before Central City Concern. I realized I wanted to get out of that, and I went through all their programs, drug and alcohol treatment. I'm cleaning up my wreckage. I've had a lot of wreckage in my past. When I go out there, it reminds me of where I would have been, and I get to help them if they want the help, and show them the way of where to go. The one thing that really keeps me here in Clean Start are my supervisors. They're really understanding. If I'm ever having a problem with anything else, I can always go in the office and talk to them and have a good long talk. It's 100 times, 200 times better than where I was at. I would be homeless on the streets, probably dead. It just makes me feel better about myself, just gives me more to live for.
As Ammon Bundy and his men put it, they're getting their hands dirty.
You know, there's still a lot of concern and fear.
He says last week a rancher on land near the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge near Burns came forward saying the Bureau of Land Management put in this fence sometime last year.
They did not have authority to build this fence in the first place, and so we are removing it.
Bundy says if it stays, that rancher could lose his livelihood. I'm told this is the first time they've gone out and done something like this.
We're just going to pull back a couple sections of wire here.
With that wire pulled back, this cat, complete with U.S. Fish and Wildlife decals, came in to pull out the posts. With this portion of fence now out of the way, I'm told it will be replaced with a gate, and come springtime, the rancher here will be able to open it and let his cattle graze. And those who tore it down, well, they're not apologizing.
We've got more things to do, but we're not going to just sit, and now he's open to run.
They're also not worrying about what kind of charges they may face. Do you worry about legal action now, having done this?
Well, I think that if they want to put legal action against me, don't you think after me being at that refuge there, having been the first one on there, they could already have as long as list as they want? So if I'm not worried then, why should I start worrying now?
Nothing to lose?
No, all to gain. All to gain. It's not about losing, it's about gaining. It's about putting the federal government back into the confines of the law.
I'm here to make custom patches for people.
This guy right here
I'm from Tucson, Arizona. I'm on a sewing tour around the country.
has quite the story.
Well, I started sewing in 2004 to make functional art people could use. Started sewing on shirts, ties, and dresses. I was sort of like the classic starving artist.
Paul Nosa is now visiting Portland.
Here comes that sun.
Setting up shop along Alberta.
Okay.
For last Thursday.
I love this street. It's definitely one of the more diverse streets to work on.
He's no stranger. This is his third time in town for the popular event.
It's one of the few places that's still free, which is nice.
But this last Thursday is keeping vendors inside and off the sidewalk.
It's a little noisy.
Nosa, though, he found a bit of a loophole.
Well, the police did come by, but I'm on private property, so being here with the permission of the owner is totally fine.
Allowing him to work his passion, creating those patches.
And I'm always making something new. Cat riding a bike.
Here's how it works. You give him an idea in 5 words or less.
I'm gonna make a wiener dog photographer.
That request coming from my photographer.
It's really done just with my hands moving the fabric around.
And there's no computer here, just those hands. His machine powered by the sun. And a few minutes later,
Wiener dog photographer.
that patch is done. So why, of all things, do this? Nosa has a simple answer.
I'm just trying to get people to use their imagination. I'll make a patch on the spot and give them a tangible piece of their imagination.
It's strange to see the historic Columbia River Highway so empty. But it's been that way for a year now, because in this section right by Oneonta, landslides keep falling month after month. A frustrating challenge for trail keepers. This is why progress has been so difficult. Rachel Politz took us to Oneonta Trail, just above the Oneonta Gorge, to show us how bad it is.
This tree was alive when it got brought down, so it was the sheer force of the rocks that brought it all down.
Less than a mile from the trailhead towards the top, many trees have fallen into the watershed.
Rocks could come down at any moment, logs, trees, and so on.
But look, some signs of growth and healing.
There's quite a bit of green in the canopy. A lot of the trees have survived, even some of them that have black on them.
It will be a while, maybe years, before Oneonta will be open. But that's not the case at another popular trail, Wauklella Falls.
As you can see, Wauklella's in pretty good shape, so we were able to identify it as one to hopefully open.
If you've hiked this before, you know that there's a loop at the end. The upper level is still a burned mess. But the lower part, where you can still access the falls, is a different story.
Overall, we're leaving the situation a year later stronger as an agency and just as a gorge, unified, like the communities, the organizations, the agencies. I think we've really stuck together and got through this, and it's just going to go uphill from here.
The Forest Service hopes to open Wauklella by the end of the year.
Oh, about 15 or 20 years ago. I started out with one nutcracker I bought at Christmas time. And all of a sudden I became a owner of a ton of nutcrackers. Oh, this is The Wizard of Oz. There's Dorothy. I love them. They're just, you don't see any of them being nasty or mean or hurting people. They're just lovable little decorations. And they're really charming. They're from China, Germany. I just have a collection of 4 or 5 that are about as big as my fingers here. And those come from Russia. Just love and looking at pretty things and things that don't harm people, that just are there for joy. This guy belongs downstairs. He's a football player from OSU. This one here is about 25 or 30 years old. What's the sense of having toys and pretty things for nobody to see? I just put this up here. Say hello. Say hello. Could you imagine if the world, everybody had nutcrackers instead of guns?
Riddle, Oregon. September 16th, 2011. A field at the high school was packed with volunteers and cyclists. It was the 6th day of a week-long Cycle Oregon tour event, a popular bicycle tour that takes place nearly every year. Mark Bosworth was a volunteer, and the last time anyone's seen him was 11:30 that night. He left behind almost everything, according to investigators: clothing, his bike, his bags. A frantic search by volunteers, local firefighters, a search and rescue team, as well as canines, yielded nothing.
It's one of those things where he just kind of vanished.
Sergeant Brad Odell with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office says for that reason, this is an unusual case.
Some of the volunteers that had been working with him stated that they had noticed some behavior that was concerning.
For instance, they say he would fail to show up for some volunteer shifts, would stare into the distance by himself, and had difficulty following signs.
Family also indicated that he was likely suffering from a medical event of some sort.
Mark is 6 feet tall, about 180 pounds, with gray hair and blue eyes. He's also a cancer survivor.
Do you think there's anything suspicious about this disappearance?
At this point in time, we have no indications that anything sinister took place. However, we can't completely rule that out, but there are no indications that this is anything more than a missing person investigation.
For the next 6 years, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office received no verifiable sightings, no credible leads, until
in July of 2017, we received a call from a citizen who called and said that they found a backpack.
What made you think that it was Mark's backpack?
There were items in the bag that we knew Mark had, and there were also things in there that stated that they belonged to Mark.
Like what?
There was a debit card, a bank card, that had his name on it. And so we were able to look at that, and then also we knew that he had an iPad, and that iPad was found in the bag as well.
Sergeant Odell says the woman actually found the backpack months before she reported it July of last year.
Why was there a delay in her reporting this backpack?
That's a detail we're not ready to release at this point, because this is still an active case.
A search of the area again produced nothing. No other clues. No signs of Mark Bosworth.
Based on the information that we have, we believe that Mark Bosworth has died.
But without a body and without other leads, we will never know what happened to this husband and father.
Maybe they have information that they've been holding on to. Now's the time to come forward.
In Riddle, Eileen Park, Queen 6 News. It's just another Friday for Ryder Fisher.
Thank you.
He checks in and waits for practice to start before the night's big competition. The WHR Motorsports Northwest Arena Cross Nationals in Redmond, Oregon. He loves this sport.
The adrenaline and then the jumps and flying through the air.
And he happens to be good at it too.
I got a 7th in the Super Mini 2 and an 8th in the Super Mini Dominator.
I have no idea what that means, but it sounds impressive.
Yep.
Ryder tells me he's been riding since he was only 2.
Yeah, I was doing like Supermans and like freestyle tricks when I was 2. I wouldn't do that now, but I don't know, I guess I was more crazy when I was 2.
Life's only come around once, man. You gotta have some fun.
Many parents would have a heart attack seeing their child clear a triple, but not former pro motocross racer Randy Fisher. Now, he's a father that also understands that his son needs a backup plan.
Yeah, so just in case this doesn't work out.
Which is why Randy enrolled Ryder in an online charter school.
Had to deal with grandma and grandpa, and the brother not liking the online school, wanting him to be socially, but all he's doing is talking to kids all here. This is as social as you can get. This is the biggest family there is. This is the coolest family sport in the world.
We have a very rigorous curriculum.
Insight School of Oregon Painted Hills is an accredited school boasting free tuition for Oregonian students. All you need is a computer.
It's not just homework. They got to do the assignments that they would be doing during the time in school, and then they have their homework also.
Well, I have like science, PE, English, math.
A little math during the day. A little motocross racing at night. Ryder is living the dream. In Redmond, Eileen Park, Coin 6 News.
After moving to the Northwest, Dawn fell on hard times, finding herself living in her car on the streets of Portland. This is her story of resilience, hope, and a new beginning.
One thing I have learned is there are so many paths to hitting hard times. There's just so many paths that lead a person to being homeless. There were a lot of challenges that you don't deal with when you're housed. The working homeless have it the hardest. Because by the time you get off work, the meals are done, the showers are done, the laundry is done, you have no resources. It was nice to have privacy, nice to have a locked door, a security gate, not just anybody could come in. Cooking was huge, being able to cook a meal. just have to keep pushing through, keep asking. As humiliating as it can be, as dehumanizing as it can be to constantly say, I need help, I need help, I need help. Keep saying you need help. Eventually somebody hears you. There are agencies and people out there that will hear you if you keep asking. You probably have to knock on 1,000 doors, but keep knocking. Doors open. It doesn't seem real. None of this seems quite real, but it is. It is real. I didn't think I could get here. I didn't think it was attainable. And now here I am, light at the end of the tunnel. This is it. And this, I am just completely awestruck. This is amazing.